Right, welcome everyone. My name is William Hart. I am a project manager with the Goldridge Rcd, and we are here today to be talking about our LandSmart Grazing Program. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce the other RCD staff members. So we have a couple of folks in attendance, and I'll just let you please introduce yourselves.
I'll go ahead. My name's Carrie Wester. I'm a project manager who's managing this program for the Sonoma RCD district. And Robert, how about you go next?
Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Heim. I'm a program assistant with Sonoma RCD, assisting with the LandSmart Grazing Program in the Sonoma RCD's region. Angel?
Hi, I'm Angel. I am serving at the Goldridge Rcd as a Climate Corps Fellow for this year, and I'll be going over the application process with you today during this meeting. So, and I'm not sure if anyone else is in this meeting and wants to introduce themselves.
I'll just also mention we have a new staff person, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but Ari DeMarco is also a new project manager with Sonoma RCD and joining us today as well.
Welcome, Ari.
And I'll just introduce myself. I'm Will Spangler. I work at the Goldridge Rcd with William and Angel, and tuning in to learn more about LandSmart Grazing. That's something I've been super involved with in my time here, but happy to be assistance.
Awesome. All right, so I am gonna share my screen. I'll get the presentation started. So just once again, I wanna welcome you all. Thank you very much for your time, for your presence, for being here with us. You know, this will be informal. I got some prepared slides, or we have some prepared slides about the role of the RCD. Here, let me show you our agenda. So we're going to talk about what a resource conservation district is, what's our role. We'll give you an overview of the LandSmart Grazing Program. And then, like Angel mentioned earlier, we're going to, she's going to do a demonstration of the actual application. And then we, you know, set aside as much time as we can for questions and answers. Certainly feel free to utilize chat if you have a question that comes up. But you know, I'm going to try to keep this first part pretty brief so that we can save as much time as possible for questions and answers. So let's get into it. So RCDs we're a non-regulatory agency. We're a special district. We're like a school district or a fire district, but our purview is natural resources. So we work with landowners and land managers on voluntary conservation related projects. So we partner with the community. We are, you know, we're going after grant funding to either plan projects or implement projects. And, you know, we're thinking about over on the right-hand side of the screen, those looking at the needs of the environment, the natural resources, balancing that with economic needs so that, you know, trying to bring in funding to help offset the cost of these projects, either planning or actual implementation. And then, you know, what are the human needs in that equation as well. So there are RCDs all throughout the state. There's about, I think, over 90 RCDs throughout the state. All operating at different capacities, all with different boundaries. You know, they're addressing the different agricultural types and land uses throughout the state. Here in Sonoma County, there are, as represented with our partners with Sonoma RCD, there's 2 RCDs in Sonoma County. Gold Ridge is shown in the kind of the salmon color or the red color. Then Sonoma RCD manages the rest of the county there in the blue. That blue line coming down is the Russian River. And then just Marin RCD is our partner to the south, but you know, we work with all of our regional RCDs. So Napa County, Mendocino County, Lake County, all throughout the North Bay, all throughout the state. So we are involved in conservation, and we do that through planning and assessments. So either like individual farms or at the watershed scale. We certainly are involved in on-the-ground projects. We also have educational programs for, you know, for adults, adult education, and then also school kids. And then we provide technical assistance through the various types of natural resource concerns that are out there. I need to be advancing it forward. So we serve rural landowners, farms and ranches. We partner with government agencies and municipalities, and much more. You know, partnership is really kind of our bread and butter. That's how we operate. That's how we function. And just yeah, that need for partnership is kind of born into us. So we go after several different types of funding sources: federal, state, local government grants. We also go after foundational grants. We also offer our services on a fee for service basis. Property taxes and local measures can also be part of our funding mix. That one depends. But we're pretty much grant funded. So where does this money go? It's being distributed to local contractors through the types of projects that we're engaged in, consultants, environmental consultants, engineering consultants. It's going to support our RCD staff. The grant monies that we do receive then get turned into supporting our local businesses through materials purchases, that sort of thing. Also plants from nurseries, our soil testing labs for the soil sampling work that we do. And then if you want to learn more about the projects that the RCDs are involved in, we started, so this is on the state level, there's the Rcd Project Tracker, rcdprojects.org. There's a map interface. So I took a screenshot here of Gold Ridge's district, and all these little icons that show up on the map are individual projects. And then when you click on one of those little points on the map, it'll tell you what that project is about. And then you can click on that link where it says project fact sheet. And then that'll bring you to the individual project itself. And you can learn more about what that particular project is. This is an effort to demonstrate and be transparent about the work that we're doing, the funding that we have, but also what it means on the ground, what it means in our district for the different types of projects that we're involved in. So that's Rcd Project Tracker. rcdprojects.org is the URL for that. And then this project in particular, what we're here today to be talking about, the project is funded by the Ag and Open Space District. So this is part of their vegetation management grant program. And these are, the funds are coming out of the PG&E settlement funds that the county reached in 2020. This is obviously coming from the 2017 wildfires. And then in 2020, the Board of Supervisors allocated $25 million of those funds towards vegetation management. So that was in total. And then in this fiscal year for 2022, they've earmarked $4 million for vegetation management activities. And then I put the URL of Ag and Open Spaces, a link to their website with more information about this vegetation management grant program that we have here. So Ag and Open Spaces are funder for this particular project. I don't know, Carrie, should I keep rolling, or do you want to jump in?
I certainly can.
Okay.
Can you advance? I'm not familiar, but if you want to, you want to just do all of them, and then I'll just talk at once.
Sure.
So I imagine the folks that are here today already have a sense of the benefits of grazing, also kind of referred to as targeted grazing or contract grazing. Here's a list of some highlights. Obviously, use of grazing reduces risk of wildfire by minimizing that fuel load. Specifically, sheep have a favorable impact on biodiversity, which can increase by up to 40% on the grounds where they're used. While consuming invasive plant species, grazing animal manure provides fertilizer to help support and growth of native flowers and grass as well. In addition, hoof action tramples vegetation and prepares previously burned soil for future planting. In addition, targeted grazing is also a carbon-friendly form of vegetation management. Next slide.
Oops, sorry.
So the payment rates for this program, we structure this program as a rebate program. So someone like yourself, the applicant that would be potentially awarded a contract, would contract with a grazer of your choice. We do have information on grazers that they have provided us information, and we provide that to folks, but there's no requirement to use folks on that list. But the landowner or yourselves would be choosing the grazer, contracting with them, doing the work, and then the RCD would be reimbursing you for that work. Let's see, we did put a threshold on the funding just so that the funding could kind of go a little bit further. So incorporating a percentage of cost share for projects, we would reimburse up to 85% of contract grazing fees to the landowner, land manager, up to $20,000. So there have been cases where folks have wanted to do grazing beyond that, and they do. They'll just pay more out of their pocket themselves, and then the RCD just pays up to that $20,000 mark. There is opportunity for that cost share being waived and having 100% of grazing costs covered, but that would need to be on an approval basis with each RCD if awarded. And yeah, again, we just hope that these are limitations that folks can work with when participating in the program. So you probably, some of you might have already looked at our outreach material that goes over if you're eligible to participate, and we basically like listed down our priorities for the program. Focusing on smaller acreages for single properties or larger acreages for multiple properties if you are applying with your neighbor or neighbors in an area. Grassland, woodland, shrubland, ag lands are eligible. High risk of wildfire, excuse me, in close proximity or at risk to disadvantage or densely populated communities, and adjacent to community evacuation routes or key infrastructure, urban areas or between urban areas and open space land. So these are not like a requirements per se that you have to be in close proximity to say a disadvantaged or densely populated community, but they would rank higher when we do our ranking. Next. So can you do the other photo on it as well?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So just to give you a sense of funding that we used last year, we did a pilot program with the same funding last year. Excuse me. And this is an example of one of those projects. We worked with the landowner. They had about 17.5 acres grazed on their property in Northeast Santa Rosa. This property was impacted by the 2020 glass fire. Grazing animals that the contract grazer used at this property included a combination of both sheep and goats. There's no requirement on a type of animal used for grazing. It's really what the landowner or land manager is comfortable with. And so here is just one kind of photo point showing before and after grazing that happened earlier this year. Here's another site in Sonoma on a vineyard property. These are both private landowners, single property landowners. This particular grazing focused a lot within riparian areas, specifically a lot of shrubs, blackberry, poison oak, and vinca. In addition, sheep and goats were both used in this grazing project as well. And there's a before and after photo from last winter when this project was grazed.
And then this was a project in Goldridge's district. This was a multi-property project. This was 3 properties, a total of 26 acres across those 3 parcels. This was out near Occidental. This was on grassland and kind of the forest edge. And this was sheep and goats. And the, so this was 3 properties. That meant 3 individual agreements, landowner access agreements with those 3 properties. The $20,000 was distributed across the 3 different parcels. So it meant, just some extra coordination, some extra communication between those neighbors to make sure that everything was clear and timeline was, established. But really, looking just at that benefit of bringing in the livestock to one spot and then moving them across the landscape, across the fence lines, just for that, additional benefit. And then, so now we're gonna jump into the demonstration. I've included a link here, the URL, just for posterity's sake, but I'll turn it over to Angel for a demonstration, and then that means I gotta stop sharing. All right.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I will start sharing the screen, you guys. And at any point, if you guys are having trouble hearing me or If you have a question, you could put it in the chat too, so that we can come back to that question later, since it will be going over the application. And in the application, my information is provided. So if you have any other questions too, feel free to reach out to me via my email, and we can set up a call or something if you guys have any additional questions on your own. So I'm just going to go through this here and act like I'm applying real quick. And I won't take too long on the actual like measuring acres, but we do have this link here so that you're able to see how to measure acreage on Google. Some people may know their acreage already, and you don't have to go through this process if you already know, but just a little bit of showing you how to do that. If you right click on your computer, it gives you the option to measure a distance. So basically for a property, you just start by clicking where you want to. And so you drag this little dot to your location, and it should allow you to bring up a little ruler looking thing here. And any point in between this ruler, you can drag and add a new dot. So basically, if I'm measuring this area here, I would be able to drag, move the dot where I need it to go, get the size of the property. And that'll be important for answering that first question of how big the property is. So down here in this little box, it'll show you the area in square feet, and then we ask for it to be in acres. So you can just quickly search a conversion, or if you know the conversion, that's fine. And my suggestion is, if you have multiple properties that are close together, but maybe not right next to each other, you can just write down what the acreage is for the first property, and then also go back and add another property. So that's how you measure if you need to, but again, not necessarily if you already know your acreage. This is just your name, any phone numbers that we would need for you or neighboring properties if you are planning to have it where you're working with multiple people. Same with the address. RCD, email, and then address will be wherever your location is, and if you need to be reached by mail, any other address, also include that for us. Acres in there. It won't let you proceed for some of these without specific information. So what I'll go through next is the California Public Utility Commission fire map. So basically for this, you're gonna start by going to the top over here with the little magnifying glass, and that's where you'll put in your address specifically. You'll type it in. And then once you type it in, it'll zoom into the property address that you have listed. So what I like to do after that is I just scroll and I zoom out a little bit to just get an idea of the area. So this is an Occidental, and here it is showing red, or I believe, yes, that's tier 3 in our application. So you would go here, see, yes, my property and or neighboring properties are in the red zone, which would be tier 3. So I would go back to my application and I'd be able to select I'm in tier 3. Obviously, if there is no risk, there's an option here. So it would just be anywhere outside of the yellow or red areas. And then what we also want from you is a downloaded version of the map. So basically what you can do is you can go to the little print at the top left corner of the screen. It looks like a little printer, which is really nice and convenient. And you can do the map only view, or any of these really work. It just, the different selections are just, they make the map look slightly different, and they'll give you a little bit of a different picture. But it'll put it right into a PDF format for you. So once you have it selected, you just hit print and it'll process it for you in your window, however it wants to create your map. And then once it's done creating the map, it'll probably pop up in a new tab on your window. And then you'll be able to scroll down to where we have the option to upload your map from the website. And you can click down here to add your file, and it should give you options to either drag or browse and select it when it comes up for you. And I will see sometimes it takes a little time to create it, but so I click on the created file. Once it's done, it'll give you that option there. Right here, it'll show how many different documents you've downloaded. If you have different properties that do end up in a weird side zone of some red, some yellow, we do give you the option to select both options. It's kind of on the border there. But this is the map that it will create for you, depending on what your selection is. And then we just ask that you save that and again, upload the file here. If you have any questions or need to know how to upload a file, you can ask, but it's a pretty easy process. I'm just gonna go to my hit browse, select downloaded. Those are the, this should be my downloaded map over here. Just save it to my downloads. And you can title it whatever you want. Mine, I'll just put accidental because that's the area that we're in. And then you'd be able to browse. Select your file and then open it up and it'll download it right there. And it'll just show up as a little PDF. So similar process for the next mapping. So the wildfire fuel mapper. So you'll click the link and it'll take you here to the mapping option. So when the page pops up, the first window here that shows a map will be what you want to use. So you'll go ahead and put your address in this box here at the very top for this first map, and you'll select to search. And then again, it'll zoom into your property. And for this one, it's taking your property address and it's giving you the whole parcel, the parcel number. So you'll be able to see my property is within this parcel, and then you can just select within that parcel. And once you select the parcel, it'll allow you to download a report. So when you hit download, it'll pop up in a new window for you. And so the report will come up looking like this. And the best way to be able to determine what zone you're in is if you scroll down, you can see this is the parcel number, your address, the number of acres. And as you scroll down, it'll be page number 3. So page number 3 will give you 3 different maps. And what we're gonna look at here for hazard class is this middle map. So it'll be the CAL FIRE hazard. And for my example here, it's showing that the hazard class is moderate hazard. So it's in the yellow right here. So the hazard class legend is down at the bottom below the map. So since I see that it's yellow, I'd go back to my application and then I'd be able to click moderate in the yellow zone, and then similar process, save that report, and then also add the file here under the next question. You'll be able to upload your file. I'm just gonna pick one because I don't think it'll let me proceed without selecting so once that's uploaded, you can move on, and the rest of these questions won't be involving any mapping. It'll just be more geared towards specifics on your property. So these are some of our high priority areas. I might be closer to a populated urban area or within a canyon. So those are just, you can select as many or as little options as applies to you. And then, yeah, if you have any tribal community affiliation, you can let us know what that may be as well. And we would like to know if your grazing would occur within 100 feet of homes or structures. So that could be personally on your property or a nearing property to you. And also, this is just some of our information for the actual grazing project. So this is talking about the resources that we're going to need for the grazing project. And so we just kind of want to know a little bit more about what's on your property and what might need to be brought onto your property. So, so mine needs to be prepared. I'm going to need a lot of things like and then also, this is for grazers as well, needing to know what resources the animals are going to need once they're on your property. So I need water to the sheep and goats for my property. And we also want to know access questions. So can a large truck semi access my site? Is there a road somewhere that we can bring our transportation vehicles onto? And then also, if we can reach your property with our vehicles, that's great, but also to the specific site, maybe it's fenced in separately. Will the livestock need to be herded to the actual specific grazing site? Even if we can get close enough with the vehicles, can we or can we not bring them directly there? Or should they be herded over? And then if you've had a grazing plan before in place, let us know. Or if you don't, that is also completely fine. We will be working to create one. And then this is just a little bit more information about financial assistance that we're providing, and just an acknowledgement of the type of structure our program is. So the rebate, again, the rebate program that we have, so that it would be an upfront cost and then rebate to you. And then you just want to select to acknowledge that you understand that. And then also, this is just to authorize if we are going to help you, match you to contract grazers, just to have like contact information so that we can all be in contact with each other during the program. Initials AA, and then submit. And so then my application's done, and we'll receive responses so that we can go through and complete our ranking system to select what projects. And then I will stop sharing my screen, and I think after that maybe we'll open for questions. William, if you want to share your screen again for my contact information, or for anything else, we can do that.
I will do that. Thank you, Angel. That was great. All right. So I'm sharing once again. So the deadline, folks, is going to be Friday, October 21st. And then we hope to inform the awarded projects by Tuesday, November 1st. Here's Angel's contact once again, angel@goldridgercd.org. Let's see. And then, yeah, I guess we just have time for questions. So feel free to unmute yourself if you'd like, or you can type them into chat. Robert, I see you got your hand up. Go ahead.
I do. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm looking into applying for our community. We're up on Bennett Ridge, which is the top of Annandale State Park. And a couple questions. So when it says up to 85% and a cap of $20,000, from your experience, how much does it cost per acre to have grazing done? I know it's going to vary, but we have over 100 homes up there. 90% of them are rebuilds from the 2017 fire. So I'm going to be gauging with my community whether or not it makes sense to do a community application, or if we need to divide it up into, 4 parcels and do several applications, if that would make more sense. So do you have an estimate on how much grazing costs per acre?
I can answer it if you want, William.
Yeah, go ahead, Carrie.
So I think for the most part, the projects that we did this past year ranged from maybe 1,000 to 2,000 an acre. So it's obviously going to depend on that grazer, time of year, access, those type of things. I do know that folks did get additional estimates from other grazers where they decided which one to go with. And they went all the way up to like 3,500 an acre.
Okay.
So there was definitely a big range. Some folks do it by day, but I feel like for the most part, the projects that we worked on this last year were by acre. So if that helps at all. And I do think, and William, correct me if I'm wrong, the information that we'll provide on potential grazers or grazers who've indicated, they work in Sonoma County, do give us like base information on their rates in that information that we'll provide.
Yeah, we got, so we put that request out to the grazers for what they charge. Some folks want you to contact them directly. And then some folks did give us, like Carrie said, either a acreage or a per day use. It varied. It depended.
Okay. One follow-up question. So the word contiguous, how close is contiguous? If it's every other property, or do I need people to group in actual contiguous properties? Our ridge is served just by one road, but it's a 2 miles loop with 100 houses on it.
I don't think we've been asked that question yet, so I think it's a good question. Our idea or our goal with having folks or incentivizing folks to do multiple properties is to have this idea that, this can be a trial, we can provide, financial assistance now, but that it could be a longer term effort with your community. So as far as contiguous, I don't think that's necessarily required. It depends if it would be easier for the grazer if they're, going from one backyard to the other backyard.
Right.
But that's my take on it, William. I don't know if you had another interpretation.
Yeah, I think it would be, it's going to depend on the grazer. Like, I don't think I can answer that. I think that you would want to reach out to a number of grazers and see, just find one that is gonna fit your particular need. We also have a vision, like Carrie said, or we have this vision of encouraging people to get livestock of their own, if that's something that's feasible, because the action of the grazing is short term, right? The need for vegetation management is ongoing. So we're trying to do some education. So like we'll have some upcoming workshops if having livestock on your property is a possibility. We certainly encourage that. I would look to the work of Sarah Kaiser and Wild Oat Hollow. She's got some wonderful little videos and some resources about her work in the Pengrove area, about that exact sort of thing, community grazing.
Okay.
And we know that this is new to folks, right? So we get it if you have questions, like totally, that's very, very understandable.
I think that Lynn had several questions in the chat. I think, what did we say? November 1st is our anticipated date of notifying folks of awards. We do have a sense of a number of projects. I think it was 8, William, that's right. Feel accurate? So whether that's done in, needs to be done in another round. If we don't get enough folks interested, we might do another round of applications. I don't have the exact total amount of funding available. The grazing component, the targeted grazing assistance itself, is one component of this larger grant that William's indicating. We have outreach, and then we have some other components to it, but I don't know if you can speak on the total budget if you have that.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up.
While William is looking for that, Lynn, you had another question about, would you prefer that we not include the 100-foot around structures, or do you actually prefer that? So we do have a ranking question where you would rank higher if you're grazing within defensible space. That is one question that we have there. And is there a preference between funding individual or prefer funding multi-property projects? You would rank a little bit higher for multi-property projects. And again, that is with the goal of trying to create a little bit of like community resiliency between these communities. So it's not that you wouldn't be eligible or could get awarded if you're a single property, but we are trying to prioritize the multi-property projects.
And then from like a efficiency point of view as well, you know, that move the animals in once, graze several properties, and then, you know, move them out. And that cost gets distributed amongst the properties as well. And then, Carrie, we have about $200,000 allocated for projects. So maybe like 8 to 10, depending on, or maybe 12, depending on what the ask is.
And then it looks like Linda, and then Cheryl, and then Nancy. So Linda's asking if having livestock is an option shared between several properties. Is that something we could apply for funding for? In this program, we're specifically applying for financial assistance for contract grazing. We are planning on including outreach and education material around that concept, but just not funding for, I mean, animals or fencing or troughs or anything, if that's what you're asking. And then Cheryl?
Yeah, I've been working with, or trying to work with, Regal Park for the last 2 years to get some kind of grazing there. I think it's really desperately needed. And so I've been talking with Richard and Hattie off and on, and they don't seem to be very interested in it. And I know that there are other park areas that grazing is taking place. And so I know Spring Lake, for instance, in Santa Rosa, there's grazing being supported by the parks. And so I don't know how to get them enthusiastic about it. And I don't know if you guys have reached out to them and offered to help with services, or if that's something that you would consider doing.
Well, I'm not going to call anybody out on this meeting, but we do have folks from regional parks that are interested in this program. I know that they do grazing at other parks, so it might just be a matter of, you know, prioritizing all of the different areas that they do have to graze. But I know that it is something that they are doing at other parks and something that they're interested in doing.
Okay, so you don't necessarily encourage certain areas at all, or what?
I mean, I think we're encouraging all sorts of areas with this program, you know, with outreach that we're doing. And, you know, we're happy to answer any questions. We do kind of understand that there is a big need for this. And so our experience with the last round was that there's likely going to be more interest than we have financial assistance available. And so that's why we're hoping that some of the education that we provide can do that. But yes, targeted grazing for fuel load reduction is absolutely a tool that folks can use. And it's something, you know, to definitely, you know, make sure is appropriate for your property. But yeah, I mean, it would be encouraged, but, you know, everyone has their different goals and objectives for their properties.
Yeah, I think Regal Park would have to go through their own process, you know, to be ready to be to have the type of project like they, you know, I think like Carrie is saying, I echo what Carrie is saying. It's just that Regal in particular would need to, you know, there's more considerations I think that they have to factor in for a grazing project to happen there.
Yeah, I was wondering, like who does the management of the grazing? Would that be the grazer in conjunction with where they're grazing at, or it's like how involved does Regal management have to be as far as in getting this accomplished?
Right.
I just want to be, I just want to be aware of our time. We have about 6 minutes left, and I know Nancy had a question, and I'm trying to answer the questions in the chat as well. Okay. So William, do you want to take Nancy's question?
In chat or?
I believe she had her hand raised up. Yeah,
Nancy, go ahead.
I am also, I work for a nonprofit called Community Soil Foundation, and I'm a school garden educator, and we run this program that's in Maddox Ranch Park, which is a Sonoma County regional park, but we manage the land. There's a 1 acre garden, and then there's a 5 acre oak woodlands. And it's in desperate need of, you know, trimming, pruning. I mean, there's a lot of poison oak. We do have some pathways through it. We would like for people to be, you know, the children that we teach to be able to access this as an environmental education site. And so we are in a Sonoma County regional park. So maybe some of the same things apply. Do I need to, we actually had a fundraiser, and I talked to Burke Whitaker about it. I go, what about these, you know, grazing? He goes, oh, that's great. We could maybe help manage if you get the grant, but I don't know what the process would be to go. It's in the middle of a suburban, it's right across from Mark West Elementary. It's right north of where the Tubbs fire went through. So the fire danger is high. It's in the middle of like sort of a subdivision. So it's sort of unique. So that's our situation. Okay.
Well, I mean, so the agreement would be between the grazer and whoever the property owner is. And then, you know, we're just, we're reimbursing you. So whoever the landowner is needs to be on board.
Okay. Well, that's the county parks, I would guess. And then there's a lot of homeowners around there. So, okay. So I have to that's the hard thing, is trying to get into regional parks and get connected with them with it. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah. Thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Nancy.
I don't know if it's going to work or not for our situation. We really do. It's a fire hazard, really. So I would hope that at some point something will happen. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I'm answering all the other questions in the chat. Let me know they're not being answered. Linda, your latest one, how long it would take for reimbursement. Basically, after we receive, a paid invoice from the contract grazer, and we do some before and after photos and a W-9, it goes to Gold Ridge's board for approval. So William, I think it depends on when their board meets once a month. So it could take 6 weeks, 2 months. What?
Yeah, maybe like 4 weeks at the quickest, and then maybe up to 6 weeks. But yes, we would need a W-9 so that you exist in our books. And then yes, we have a board meeting once a month. All the payments get approved at those board meetings. You're muted. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
But the grazer, the property owners or multiple property owners would have to pay the grazer up front, and then we would then be reimbursed. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. Yeah.
But the projects are approved. I'm assuming that they have to be approved before anything is done, so that they will get reimbursed. Is that correct or not?
Yes. We would. So you're going to apply to our program. We're going to rank each project, and then we will notify the awarded projects that yes, you've been awarded a project. Proceed, and then we kind of hold your hand along the way, but or provide you with resources. But certainly, we're trying to have the land applicant take on as much of that, contracting with the grazer and all of that sort of thing.
Sorry, were you finished?
No, go ahead.
I was just going to add to maybe clarify a little bit too, Cheryl, that the RCDs would have agreements with the landowner. And so that agreement will have that grazer's cost estimate attached to it. So you'll come to us and say, if you're awarded, you'll come to us and say, I got a cost estimate from XYZ grazer. It's going to cost $15,000. We get an agreement with the RCD and you, and we attach that to our agreement. So that's the plan as far as what areas are going to be grazed, who's going to be doing it, and so forth. So there is a scope of work, in a sense defined, that we establish landowner agreements with you to agree upon that, and that's where we lay out the reimbursement part of it as well. We're coming on 1 o'clock. Robert's question, sorry, Lynn, I do believe that it is reportable. I would ask your tax person, but I'm pretty sure.
Exactly. Talk to your tax person.
And then Robert, what time frame is funding for? So this funding, if we allocate money in the next, here month or so, folks would, and they're awarded, folks would have until next October to spend that. So some folks have done it right away. Others have done it in a series of a fall and a spring grazing, and some folks have waited till summer. So it's really dependent upon that land participant and the contract grazer.
Right.
And I actually have another appointment that I have to run to. So if there's more questions, maybe you guys can hang on, but I have to hop off.
Okay.
And
I can stick around. Thank you, Carrie.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, if there's more questions, please let me know.
Well, I did have a question about managing the grazing. So it would seem to me that, the landowner would work with the people that are providing the grazing to come up with a management scheme. Is that correct?
Yes. Okay. And with the RCD available to provide assistance as well.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really going to depend on the grazer. And, you know, I think getting multiple, speaking to multiple grazers, probably, you know, just finding out their availability, and then, you know, yeah, yeah, it's going to depend.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, just to let you know too, as well, that we're, you know, we see the need in the community for this type of program. We're certainly going to continue to pursue every funding avenue that's out there. It's great that the county has this program, but the state can step in as well. We're always on the lookout for trying to expand and address the, you know, the expressed need coming from the community.
Right.
It's a huge lift. It really is, throughout the state, you know.
No, it's an excellent program, and I really appreciate the fact that it's available. And, you know, like I said, I've been working, you know, kind of every spring with the Regal Park group, and it seems like it's always being put off until the next year. And so we're getting a little frustrated. This would be the third year it's put off, and we just don't understand it, because it is happening, and it is happening in the county, and it's happening around us, but it's not happening here, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Marin County seems to be way out in front of us in terms of the scale and the type of projects that they're doing. So that's really our model, what we're trying to achieve.
That's great.
But it is great that there is interest, a growing interest throughout the state for this.
It's such a logical thing to do, you know. I mean, it's kind of a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, I think it's ancient technology, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a natural process, and so
yeah, with benefits, co-benefits.
I think it's wonderful. Yeah.
Actually, we got a grazer. Sharon Harston is contributing in chat. Yeah, Sharon, is there anything? Are you available to just talk about as a grazer?
Having a hard time unmuting. Yeah, I think the idea of more fence available or already existing is of course a big plus, and less work for grazers, and makes it less expensive for to bring animals out, because there's a lot less work. I'm kind of hopeful that some people will eventually decide that having some livestock is for them too. It's might that maybe they haven't thought of it before. But anyway, on the tax thing, I was just a point that two people are probably paying income tax on it, unless it's part of a vineyard management or some other expense. So it's just, but I don't know how, maybe it's something set up in the grant funding that's the way it has to be, but it's something that maybe that could be considered.
Yeah, you're right. I hadn't considered that.
Because yeah, if somebody, if the landowner is paying 10,000, pays tax on it, and then it goes to the grazer, and they get 10,000 or whatever, or 8,500, and they're paying taxes on it too. So it's going to be an added cost for the landowner if they're 1099. Whereas it's already going to be a income for grazers.
Mm-hmm.
All depends on people's tax brackets.
Right.
But if your people are in a really low bracket, they may not be able to afford to do it anyway, so.
Does a grazer have to be a member of RCD in order to provide services under this program?
No, I mean, no. We put out a request for grazers for their information. We had 17 people provide their information. We're doing more outreach to try to increase, you know, that list. But no, they're all independent of the RCD.
Yeah, to add to that, we are partnering with the website match.graze. So
Yeah,
if you've seen it in some of our outreach material, they're really great to work with, and they have options online on their website match.graze where you can look and see what contract grazers are available, which you're welcome to share that webpage with anybody that you know that would be interested in grazing. So if someone doesn't get accepted through our program for grazing, but they're still interested, that's definitely somewhere that like you can navigate to. I'll put that link in the chat if anyone's interested anyways. But yeah, they definitely are helping us find contract grazers that are interested to work with us on the program.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So they describe that as like a dating site, but for grazers.
That's cute.
So if you have land and you're looking for a grazer, you can make a post, or if you are a grazer who's looking for land, you can also put your information on there. That's coming out of UC Cooperative Extension. Stephanie Larson from Sonoma County here is behind that effort. Great. I think it's now like even national. I think it's a national thing.
Wow, that's amazing. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, wow.
And then, you know, Stephanie Larson also is our county advisor for livestock. So she is, you know, available for technical assistance as well.
And she's with the Marin County.
She's with the Sonoma County UC Cooperative Extension, UCCE. So they're part of the UC system.
Okay.
All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up unless there's anything else. And once again, please, if you know, reach out to us, myself or Angel or Carrie at Sonoma RCD.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has really been
Thanks.
interesting and helpful.
Great. You're so welcome. Thank you for coming.
You bet.